Some of the most badass moments of recent baseball history. Let's talk about it. Okay, I'm gonna do this in chronological order from around 2010 or so, and if you're wondering why I'm doing recent MLB history instead of all of MLB history, it's simply because older players were just way more badass than ones today. I mean, Ted Williams OPS 1147, went to World War II for 3 years, and came back and had a better season. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier while getting death threats and had a Hall of Fame career. There's simply nothing anyone could do today that could possibly stack up against that. But let's get into it. 2013, Big Papis Big Slam. Entering 2013, not much was expected out of the Red Sox. I mean, they were coming off a 2011 season where they had a historic collapse and missed the playoffs, and they lost over 90 games in 2012 while finishing in last place. But a few weeks into 2013, none of that really mattered, as Boston was hit with a tragedy when a terrorist attack was conducted at the Boston Marathon. And with the city rallying behind the Sox, especially after this famous David Ortiz speech at Fenway,
"This is our fucking city,"
they not only made the playoffs, but they went from worst to first, going on to beat the Rays in the ALDS and matching up with the reigning American League champs in Detroit in the ALCS, where things looked ugly, as Game 1 almost saw them get no hit if it wasn't for this 9th inning single from Daniel Nava off Joaquin Benoit. In Game 2, saw Detroit grab a 5-0 lead, while Max Scherzer got through 5 2/3 hitless with 10 Ks, with 2 of those coming over Ortiz, who's 0 for 6 in the series to this point with 4 strikeouts. However, with the Sox rallying to add 1 off Scherzer with 2 down in the 6th, it meant later, with 2 outs in the 8th, this Dustin Pedroia knocked to Torrey Hunter and right, loaded the bases for the slumping Red Sox legend representing the tying run. And on the first pitch he saw,
hard hit into right, back at the wall, tie game!
He ripped a grand slam that the 8-time Gold Glove winner Torrey Hunter just missed as he flipped over the wall, adding a clutch swing to his already impressive collection of them to tie a ball game that the Sox eventually won, not only avoiding a 2-0 series deficit, but later propelling Boston to the World Series, where Papi had one of the best Fall Classic performances ever, batting .688 with an OPS close to 2,000 to grab his 3rd ring and first World Series MVP, and more importantly, delivering for his fucking city when they needed him most. 2014, Mad Bum's playoff run. Entering the 2014 postseason, Madison Bumgarner was a 2-time champ with 2 stellar starts in the World Series, but his 2014 transformed him from great postseason pitcher to postseason legend. As following a complete game shutout in the wildcard game, Mad Bum pitched to a sub-2 ERA over his next 3 starts to help elevate the Giants to the World Series, where he not only pitched a masterful 7 innings of 1-run ball in Game 1, but he somehow elevated his play in Game 5 on October 26 by tossing another complete game shutout in 117 pitches. However, with the Royals forcing a Game 7, San Francisco, who grabbed the 3-2 lead in the 4th inning of that game, decided to give the ball to their ace on 3 days rest in the 5th, with Mad Bum looking as locked in as ever walking out the pen, with his long hair, black hat, and emotionless demeanor on the big stage making him the baseball version of The Undertaker, which is probably the best comp for World Series Mad Bum. Because while the 5th saw some trouble, Bumgarner, who set the record for innings pitched in a single postseason run, got through his next 3 in order. And with the Royals super pen keeping the deficit at 1, the season would come down to the 9th, where Bumgarner quickly put his team on the doorstep of 3 titles in 5 years. But of course, we needed some drama, as what seemed like a simple Alex Gordon knock to center turned into a disaster when Gregor Blanco misplayed it, prompting the Royals lifer to fly around the bases where he was controversially held at 3rd with a chance to tie it. Here's the thing though, while this may have shook other pitchers, Madison Bumgarner isn't other pitchers, especially in the World Series. Because with his heart rate pretty much untouched, he generated a pop-up from Salvi Perez to basically crown himself as the greatest World Series pitcher ever, as along with his 3rd ring, he's only allowed 1 earned run in 36 Fall Classic innings, while every other pitcher since integration with at least 30 has allowed at least 4. The guts and composure to not only make 6 consecutive excellent postseason starts, but take the ball in a Game 7 on short rest and do this is absolutely absurd, and it made him an easy addition to this project. 2015, the bat flip. Game 5 of the 2015 ALDS was wild, but there's a few things we need to go over first. While the Rangers are trying to win a big game to start and try erasing the memory of back-to-back World Series losses earlier in the decade, the Blue Jays are back in the postseason for the first time since winning it in the early 90s. And while they're led statistically by MVP winner Josh Donaldson, the face of this team is definitely Jose Bautista, a Dominican slugger who, after having 49 homers in his first 6 years in the bigs for 5 teams, broke out for 54 homers for the Blue Jays in 2010 to become one of the more premier sluggers in the game. And 2015 is the first time in his long journey that he's played in the postseason. But perhaps the most important piece of context has to do with the state of baseball at the time. Because while today guys doing stuff like this and this and this is normal and kind of encouraged, 10 years ago, bat flips were seen as controversial and pretty unprofessional. Unwritten rules, whatever the fuck. So with that out the way, let's talk about the game. The Jays, who won back-to-back games on the brink of elimination to force a winner-take-all Game 5, handed the ball to Marcus Showman, who in his own badass fashion is making a start barely 6 months after tearing his ACL, an injury that pretty much in all cases is season-ending. And with him tossing 6 innings of 2-run ball, a Bautista RBI double and massive Edwin Encarnacion tank had the score knotted at 2 by the time we entered the 7th, where shit got crazy. Because when Russell Martin's throw back to the pitcher clipped batter Shin-Soo Choo's bat, the Rangers were able to score the go-ahead run in controversial fashion, which pissed off the Toronto faithful, who started throwing stuff on the field and caused a delay to the game. But what if I told you that we're about to get crazier? Because Elvis Andrus mishandling 3 consecutive balls in the bottom side loaded the bases for Toronto. And despite Texas getting a force at the plate on a play that was almost an interference, Rougned Odor this time misplaying a Donaldson bloop, even the game at 3. Although they did get the force out at second for the second out. Meaning with 2 on, it was a huge spot for the face of this resurgent era of Jays baseball and Jose Bautista. And in a 1-1 count.
1-1 for Tyson. Bautista with a drive. No doubt about it.
Yes, you've seen this before. Well, at least I hope so. But I think we need to circle back to my earlier points, especially about the bat flip itself. Because not only did this moment kind of lead to the benches clearing, but after Toronto won, a lot of the talk was about the bat flip. With Cole Hamels making a comment about how the Rangers don't carry themselves that way, and the pitcher who allowed it, Sam Dyson, saying,
"You know, Jose needs to calm that down, just kind of respect the game a little more."
Holy soft. But regardless, this was the bat flip that catapulted us into this new age of fun in Major League Baseball. Celebrations and displays of passion are more common now than ever, and that's awesome. So considering the moment, this game, Bautista's journey, and what it meant to the state of baseball, it had to be in here. Okay, let's take a step back from the bright lights of playoff baseball. 2019. Mad Max's Black Eye game. Max Scherzer is a future Hall of Famer, but his greatest month from a statistical standpoint was also his wildest. In his first start of the month, he struck out 14 through 7 2/3 against the Reds, convinced his manager to let him stay in the game with colorful language, and then struck out Joey Votto for K15, before striking out 9 and 10 and winning decisions in his next 2 starts. But this brings us to June 18th. Where a day before Max's bump day, he bunted a ball off his face in batting practice that broke his nose and left him with a brutal black eye. But did he go to the IL? Of course not. He took the ball like nothing happens while looking like this and struck out 10 Phillies over 7 shutout innings and averaged 96.2 miles an hour on his 4-seamer, which was not only his fastest of the entire 2019 season by a half mile an hour, but it was also tied for his fastest in a game in the StatCast era, stamping his performance with his K of JT Realmuto on pitch 117 before letting out the emotion. And then, in his last 2 starts of the month, Max struck out 10 in Miami and then struck out 14 in his old ballpark in Detroit, capping off what was honestly the best month of his career, as his 68 Ks and 6 wins were his career best marks in a single month, and his 1 ERA was .01 off being his greatest mark in a month. And remember, he did that while half the time looking like this. God, Prime Mad Max was awesome. 2021, Lindors Trifecta. Prior to the 2021 season, the Mets swung a huge deal to acquire Francisco Lindor from Cleveland, and then pretty soon after, they signed him to a 10-year, $341 million deal. However, the start of this marriage wasn't pretty, as Lindor struggled with below-average numbers at the dish, and Mets fans straight up booed him. But then, a September 12th, 2021 game against their crosstown rival Yankees happened. Because after some drama regarding the Yankees allegedly using whistles to steal signs in the previous game, Lindor went out in the 12th and following a first inning ground out, grabbed the bat down by 1 with 2 on in the second and launched a huge go-ahead 3-run tater, prompting Matt Vasgersian to say,
"If Francisco's first year as a Met could include a signature moment, we just watched it."
Little did he know how correct he would be. As with the Gleyber Torres 6th inning homer cutting the score to 1, Lindor from the right side this time smacked a solo bomb to give cushion. But that wasn't all. Directing a whistle motion to Stanton and the Yankees while he rounded second, which Stanton responded to by blasting a huge game-tying homer in the 7th before stopping to chirp Lindor as he rounded second, causing the benches to clear, pushing us to Lindor's at bat in the 8th, where
Here at home. Oh my gosh. Did he get another one? Gallo's on his way back. He got it.
he went band for band in the power department with Giancarlo fucking Stanton and gave the Mets the lead with his 3rd homer. Savoring every moment as the Mets faithful, especially the Puerto Ricans on top of the dugout, went crazy. And for the cherry on top, Stanton had a chance to match him with the go-ahead run on second and 2 outs in the 9th. But instead, he popped out to who else but Lindor to give the Mets the win. While in the grand scheme, this game didn't matter much for the Mets as they missed the postseason, without this signature moment of him out-bombing the Bronx Bombers as a sub-6 foot, 200-pound shortstop, Lindor's ascension as the heart of this Mets team may have at the very least played out a lot differently. 2022, playoff Yordan. I don't know if any baseball player scares me more than Yordan Alvarez. His presence in the box, calm demeanor, and lack of weaknesses, to me, makes him one of the more terrifying hitters in the game. I mean, he's basically an even bigger Papi. And like Ortiz, Yordan already has a collection of insanely clutch playoff swings, with his pair in 2022 being particularly awesome. Because in Houston's first game of the postseason, ALDS Game 1, the underdog Mariners seemed to be a bit too overwhelming, having a 4-run lead in the late stages. However, with a Yordan knock and Breggy bomb cutting it to 2 in the 8th, the bottom of the 9th saw a hit by pitch and 2-out Jeremy Pena single pass the bat back to Yordan representing the winning run. And facing lefty Robbie Ray out the pen, he delivered.
Alvarez launches deep right field, and this one is gone!
Destroying a walk-off 3-run bomb in a series they swept. And after sweeping the Yankees as well, Houston had a 3-2 lead over Philly in the Fall Classic. We're following 5 scoreless from Framber and Wheeler to open up Game 6. Kyle Schwarber opened up the scoring with this solo bomb. Can Philly force a Game 7? Well, a hit by pitch and a Pena single passed the bat to Yordan Alvarez facing a lefty out the pen, this time Jose Alvarado, and he...
2-1 Alvarez, it's a high drive center field, Veerling's back, this game is turned upside down!
Yordan ended his postseason the same way he started it by this time launching a 450-foot go-ahead eventual game-winning homer, giving Houston a championship that no one could question. 2023, Otani vs. Trout. Mike Trout is the best American player of this century, but Shohei Otani might be the greatest Japanese player ever. And they were teammates, but since the Angels are the Angels, they would never play in a big game together as teammates. But as fate would have it, they would face off as opponents. You see, the 2023 WBC was so perfect that I don't even think it could have been scripted better. Samurai Japan was undefeated, led by Otani's 2-way dominance as the Unicorn led the tournament in hits, walks, and innings pitched. And they avoided upset in the semifinal against the gritty Mexico team with help from Otani starting a rally in the 9th with this double. While Team USA, despite suffering a setback to that same Mexico team, got into the knockout stages because of this clutch performance from Mike Trout, and then pulled off a wild win against Venezuela in the quarterfinals, which later propelled them to the finals, bringing us to a championship matchup that tested these teams even further, with 4 of the 5 total runs entering the 9th coming by way of homer, with both squads going a combined 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. But with Japan 3 outs away from the win, look who was walking out at the pen. Shohei Otani. And although he issued a leadoff walk to McNeil, this costly but forgotten Mookie Betts double play set the stage for the best matchup of this generation. America's best Mike Trout versus Japan's best in Shohei Otani. and after alternating balls and strikes until the count was full, Otani snuck this nasty pitch by him to win the world title for Samurai Japan. This visual of Otani stepping off the mound with his arms out before throwing his hat and glove is simply incredible. 2023, the Attaboy Harper game. Many Bryce Harper moments could easily make this list, but there's one from 2023 that I think takes the cake. From 2021 to 2023, the Braves and Phillies played important games against each other each year. At the end of 2021, they played a 3-game set with a spot in the playoffs potentially on the line in Atlanta that saw the MVP of that year, Bryce Harper, go 0 for 11 in a Braves series sweep, helping them clinch a postseason berth that eventually led to a championship. But in 2022, a 100-win Braves team faced off against the wildcard Phillies in the NLDS. And sparked by Harper, who hit .500, the Phillies upset Atlanta in 4, bringing us to the trilogy in 2023. With the now NL juggernauts facing off again in the NLDS, the Braves finally had their MVP talent Ronald Acuna healthy for one of these battles. But early on, it looked like 2022 again, as a Harper homer sparked a Game 1 win, and Philly grabbed a 4-0 lead in Game 2 while Wheeler was no-hitting the Braves. But things quickly shifted, as Trey Turner lazily playing a throw back in on the Braves' first hit allowed Acuna to score run 1, and a pair of 2-run bombs from d'Arnaud and Riley gave Atlanta the lead. Meaning in the 9th, when Harper walked to put the tying run on, he broke hard and took a chance when Castellanos smacked one deep in the gap. However, Michael Harris making an incredible catch before quickly firing it back in allowed Atlanta to double off Harper and tie the series at a game apiece. But this is where the drama starts. Because as reported by Jake Mintz, in the locker room post-game, Braves shortstop Orlando Arcia was heard making fun of Harper, repeatedly saying "Attaboy Harper" to make fun of him for his perceived base running blunder. And with that story going public as the series went back to the bank, Harper's Game 3 performance seemed obvious. I mean, he purposely wore Coach Prime merch to the game, alluding to his "they done messed around and made it personal" quote. And as his teammate Trey Turner said, "There's one person I would never talk about. It's that guy Harper. We don't call him the Showman for nothing." And the Showman put on a show. As well, he did go down swinging in his first at-bat. In the 3rd, with the score knotted at 1 and runners on the corners, Harper would send this hanging slider to the moon to push the score to 4-1. Giving a quick look to Arcia on his way to first as the bank exploded. And in his next AB, with a 5-run lead, Harper sent Philly into a frenzy again with this solo shot to center, staring daggers at Arcia as he rounded second in his first career postseason multi-homer game. The Phillies won this game, and eventually the series, and when asked about the moment, Arcia said he wasn't supposed to hear it. That's why we were talking in the clubhouse. When you're in the clubhouse, I'm under the impression you can say whatever you want. While you could debate the ethics of the guy reporting that, I don't think he was wrong, by the way. I don't care if you're alone in your house and you're whispering it under your breath. Just don't make fun of Bryce Harper while you're playing him in a postseason series. Recipe for disaster. Okay, let's leave MLB for a bit. 2023. Wait, he threw how many pitches? Well, today, Quinn Matthews was seen as a surprising riser in the prospect rankings in 2024. If you saw one of his last college starts in 2023, you'd probably understand it a bit more. Because as a senior, Matthews finally broke out as a starting pitcher for Stanford, and his 15 starts of over 100 pitches prepared him for the moment that has most defined his baseball career so far. As with his college career on the line in the NCAA Super Regional against Texas, Matthews battled over 9 innings to throw a 3-run complete game, doing so in 156 goddamn pitches. And when asked about the pitch count, he simply said,
Told him I was good to go. It wasn't like that they were going to try and take the rock out of my hand.
The Cardinals got a gamer. 2024. Respect your youngers. Crow Armstrong is a fun, flashy young player in the Cubs system, and when he matched up with 10-year MLB vet Willie Peralta in a AAA game, things got tense. Because for some reason, maybe we're trying to humble him, I don't even know, Peralta not only missed with a pitch behind PCA's legs, but he also just missed his head with the next offering, causing words to be exchanged between PCA and the catcher, and the Iowa Cubs skipper being ejected for defending his player. But after play was stopped and warnings were issued, PCA did this. Yeah, an absolute moonshot with one of the more violent, impactful bat flips you will ever see. Honestly, I think it's more of a bat slam than flip, and he made sure to savor that trot around the bases. But let's go to 2024 and back to the MLB postseason. 2024, Soto's signature moment. Juan Soto is somewhat similar to Bryce Harper in regards to the fact that there's multiple things he's done that I could have thrown in this video. But in 2024, he had his best one. As with the chances on the Yankees to the World Series, the hired gun Soto was 2 for his first 4 through 9, and with a walk and an error putting 2 on with 2 outs for Soto in the 10th, he would go to work, taking a first pitch ball in signature Soto fashion before watching a painted low pitch to make it 1-1. And although pitch 3 saw Soto miss a hanger and give Gaddis a look to let him know he got lucky, Soto would foul off each of the next 3 offerings, bringing us to pitch 7, where
Gaddis deals. Soto, a high fly ball to center. Thomas at the track, and Juan Soto
launched a 3-run pennant-winning homer and absolutely lost his mind when he stopped to face his dugout on the way to first. This at-bat was probably the most locked in I've ever seen a hitter. The only comparable thing in recent memory, in my opinion, was Bryce Harper's pennant-winning homer in the 2022 NLCS, which interestingly enough, came against Soto's Padres. This pennant-winning homer, I think, may have added another 50 or 100 mil on top of that crazy contract he just got from the Mets. But funny enough, that homer that sent the Yankees to the World Series actually brings us to our next moment. 2024, Gibby meets Freddy. Yankees vs. Dodgers in the World Series. No matchup, for better or for worse, has represented MLB better over the years. And when 2024 revived this rivalry, we were treated to an absolute classic in Game 1. For context, as you probably know, the amount of Hall of Fame talent sharing the field in this game was just ridiculous. For the Yankees, you had Garrett Cole, Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto. And for the Dodgers, Mookie Betts, Shohei Otani, and Freddy Freeman, with that latter name being extra important. Because Freeman, who after breaking his finger in August, had publicly been dealing with an injured ankle that he suffered at the end of the season. And he was secretly dealing with a broken rib he suffered while recovering from that injury. And this game saw it all. As although Freeman's contributions early were highlighted by a weird triple, this pitcher's duel between Cole and Flaherty saw us enter the 8th with a score at 2-1, with the Yankees being on top because of an unreal homer from Stanton. But with an Otani double and error putting him on third, Mookie Betts evened us up with a sac fly. And with the game being sent to extras, Jazz Chisholm manufacturing a run had the Yankees looking good. However, a 1-out walk and Edmund knock prompted the Yanks to go to starter Nestor Cortez, who hasn't pitched in weeks by the way, out of the bullpen. And with Otani flying out in foul grounds to Verdugo, who flipped into the stands to give the runners a free base, with first open, the Yanks intentionally walked Mookie Betts, handing the bat to the hobbled Freddy Freeman with the game on the line, sparking memories of Game 1 of the 1988 World Series, where a hobbled Kirk Gibson ripped a walk-off homer for the Dodgers. And years later, the future Hall of Famer Freeman decided to give baseball fans some deja vu.
Delivers. Freeman hits the ball to right field. She is gone! Gibby, meet Freddy!
Easily smoking a pitch into the seats for the first ever walk-off grand slam in World Series history, pointing his bat to the sky in what already is an iconic visual before going out and ripping homers in games 2, 3, and 4 as well, and an MVP winning performance while seriously injured. And while this is the most recent, all things considered, it might be the most badass. And I'm a Yankees fan. So that was my list of the most badass moments of recent baseball history. Let me know what I missed, and maybe I can make a part 2 with some more obscure stuff and the big things I left out. But regardless, like, subscribe, do the whole thing if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.